Welcome everybody to Teachers Tips for WHS 507 Assessment 2. Just some general housekeeping. This session will be recorded then uploaded to YouTube. Today's session will review the key PowerPoints for this assessment. Review the first assessment, which becomes the appendix for this assessment. And today's session, Assessment 2, the report. Here's where we go to find the PowerPoints we require. We have used an accredited Australian Standard 4801 self-assessment tool. As in the first assessment, this is the backbone. The audit has identified gaps. SWOT analysis has analysed the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and identified the positives and negatives inside and outside your organisation. This report helps with both strategic planning and decision making and will provide perspective and reveal corrective actions and areas for recommendations. Strengths and opportunities represent positive factors. Weaknesses and threats, negative factors. How to write an executive summary and recommendations teachers' tips. This is important for this assessment. It explains the importance and the roles both areas play throughout executive summary and recommendations. WHS legislative requirements will be needed to be researched in primary duty of care, duties of the officer, record keeping, training, specific high-risk compliance requirements. In New South Wales, the Work Health and Safety Act and Regulations 2017 are used. The importance of due diligence. Your report must include detailed references to the relevant health and safety legislation. Under New South Wales, Commonwealth, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania and the Territories, due diligence is the corporate governance responsibility of officers, Section 27, with respect to work health and safety. The obligations recognise that the behaviour and decisions of officers of the PCBU to determine whether the PCBU complies with its duties and strongly influences the health and safety culture of the business and undertaking. Here is the layout to be used for this report. The cover page. Here we need the name of the assessment and unit number and the student name and TAFE ID. The table of contents is critical as it is a roadmap to your assessment report. Page numbers for each heading is essential table of contents with page numbers guides the reader to their areas of interest. Executive summary is a short section summary of the report. It usually contains a brief statement of the problem or proposal covered in the report, background information, concise analysis, and a main conclusion. It is intended as an aid to decision making by managers and should include a brief description of the recommendations and a mention of the action plan. The executive summary is normally not more than 1 page in length and should provide an adequate representation of the entire document in a shortened form. Introduction should present the background information, e.g., overview of the business and its systems. It may explain certain elements that are important, e.g., WHS legislation, compliance requirements, and any industry-based information to support or report. Preparing your report. Here we're talking about the main body. The main body of the report should be taken from the findings and outcomes from assessment 2. This is where all the hard work from assessment 1 pays off. Recommendations are actions to be taken in response to the findings of the report. You can regard recommendations as a prompt to corrective actions for the reader. In this, for example, senior management, and will lead into an action plan which is attached to the report. The report structure should lead up to the recommendations and provide justification for them, and not just a reflection of the writer's ideas. Effective recommendations can be describing the corrective actions or suggested course of action to be taken to solve a particular problem or issue, are stated in a clear, specific language, should be expressed in order of importance, are based on the case built up in the body of the report, are based on legislative compliance requirements. Your action plan requires to use a table format with the following headings: objectives, goals, recommendations, required actions, at least 3 for each, position responsible and their name, date implemented and reviewed. We should also consider the elements from 4804 around commitment and policy, planning, implementation, measure and evaluation, and review and improve in your recommendations and required actions. Tips for recommendations and corrective actions. Your layout. Presented in a table format. See the example in this slide for workplace bullying. Under the required actions example, the objective is to set out a standard of behaviour and make a clear statement that inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated. Conclusion. This section provides effective ending to your report. The content should relate directly to the aims of the report as stated in the introduction or executive summary, and sum up the essential features of the report, highlighting the importance of compliance and taking action on recommendations and action plan. It can also include benefits that the recommendations can bring to the business and the workers. Your bibliography reference page needs at least 10 references. Appendices need to be correctly labelled. And remember to review your checklist before submitting the assessment. Now to our most important slide. This should become your mantra. When in doubt, ring or email your WHS teacher. Are there any questions? With there being none, see you next time. Bye for now.